Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're talking about a really big idea. What if we thought about faith like software? Like a spiritual operating system that runs in the background of your life? And what if the version you've been running is, well, totally outdated and due for an upgrade? From a system that runs on fear to one that runs on love.
Okay, let's just jump right in with this quote because it really sets the stage for everything. It completely flips the script on a common assumption. The idea here isn't that humanity needs to appease an angry God. It's that Jesus came to change our minds about who God is, to show us a loving reality that's been there all along.
And that really gets us to the heart of what we're exploring today. Is faith about getting a ticket to heaven to avoid punishment later? Or is it about a deep transformation, a kind of awakening that happens right here and right now? We're going to look at what it means to upgrade that spiritual operating system from a program of separation to one of wholeness.
So let's start by looking at what we could call the old OS. This is the one a lot of people are running, maybe without even realizing it. And honestly, it's kind of a buggy program, built on a foundation of fear, guilt, and just constant, exhausting effort.
You know, this is the message at the very core of that old programming. It creates this vicious cycle, a closed loop you can't get out of. You're told you're fundamentally flawed, so you have to try harder. But trying harder just reminds you of how flawed you feel, which leads to more failure, more guilt, and the cycle just repeats. It is absolutely spiritually draining.
Now, what's so tricky about this cycle is that it can actually feel like you're making progress. You start out with this desperate desire to earn God's approval. Then, when you inevitably fail, you get angry at yourself, at the world, and then maybe you land on pride, looking around and thinking, well, at least I'm not as bad as that guy. But you see, you're still stuck. You're still operating from a low-energy place of separation and struggle.
So how can we actually, map this stuff out? Well, the source material introduces a fascinating tool for this called the map of consciousness. And this is super important. This map isn't about judging people as good or bad. It's simply a way to describe the energy of different states of being, the actual felt experience of them.
So anything below this line, this number 200, is what you'd call a contractive state. It literally drains your life force. We're talking shame, guilt, fear, all the stuff we were just talking about. And a religion that's based on fear, well, it tends to keep you stuck right down here in this very zone.
But here's the game changer. Level 200, courage. According to this map, this is the absolute pivot point. This is where you stop seeing yourself as a victim of life and you start to take your power back. It's like the escape hatch, the doorway out of all those lower states.
And once you're through that door, everything opens up. You move into these higher energy, expansive states: neutrality, willingness, acceptance, love, joy, and peace. The source material suggests that a spirituality based on grace and love, well, this is its natural habitat. This is where it lives and thrives.
Okay, so we've diagnosed the old system. Now it's time for the software update. And to really do that, we have to reboot some of the most fundamental terms in our spiritual vocabulary. We're going to redefine the very code itself, reclaiming these words from that old framework of fear. Let's start with a big one: salvation. The old OS often frames it as a kind of cosmic fire insurance, right? A legal transaction to avoid a bad place after you die. But in the new OS, it's all about healing. It's about becoming whole, and that's a process that starts right now, in this life.
This next one is huge. What does it even mean to believe? The old way is basically just agreeing with a list of facts, which doesn't really require much of you. The new way, it's about trust. It's about leaning your whole life into a new reality. It's relational, not just intellectual.
And finally, let's tackle judgment. Man, that is a loaded word. In the old system, it's a threat, pure and simple, a future punishment hanging over your head. But what if we saw it differently? What if judgment is just light? And when light enters a dark room, what does it do? It doesn't punish the darkness. It just reveals what's there, so that it can be seen, and ultimately, so it can be healed.
All right, so we've installed these new definitions. What does that actually feel like? How does the user experience change? Well, it's a massive shift from a life of constant internal struggle to a real, profound sense of freedom and peace.
The source points to a perfect case study for this right in the Bible, in the writings of the Apostle Paul. You can think of Romans chapter 7 as the bug report for the old fear-based OS, and Romans chapter 8, that's the patch. That's the upgrade to life in the new OS of the Spirit.
And this chart just lays it out so clearly. The old OS is fueled by condemnation and guilt. You feel like this divided, wretched person. It's like trying to push a car down the road with your bare hands. It is nothing but effort and exhaustion. But the new OS? It starts with the game-changing idea of no condemnation. It creates a sense of union and peace. The engine's on. You're not pushing anymore. You're just driving. You're in the flow.
But this isn't just about finding your own personal peace. As amazing as that is, the final upgrade, the ultimate one, this one changes how you see everything and everyone.
It all comes down to this one little phrase from Scripture. Christ is all and is in all. You see, a lot of us start our journey with the idea of Christ in me, and that's a great and powerful first step. It gives us security and identity. But the final destination, the source argues, is recognizing that Christ is in all, a divine spark in every single person, without exception.
And just think about what that really means. If Christ is in all, then your so-called enemy is not empty of God. The person you disagree with politically isn't empty of God. And that whole need to dominate or destroy the other, it just melts away. The entire us versus them program gets deleted from the system.
So, to bring this all home, the biggest takeaway is this final thought that reframes the whole point of faith. Salvation isn't about being rescued from an angry God way up in the sky. It's about being rescued from the things that imprison us right here, right now. From fear, from the illusion that we're all separate from each other, and from all the pain that illusion causes. And that really leaves us with one last question to think about. What part of your own spiritual operating system is ready for a reboot?